The following is an informational program from the Sangamon County Circuit Clerk's office. The information contained in this program is solely for the use of the people of Sangamon County to make them more aware of the services of the Circuit Clerk's office and the issues they deal with. By law, the Circuit Clerk's office cannot give legal advice.
Hello and welcome. Today we've got a great show. It's talking about traffic and traffic safety. We've got an expert. He is a sheriff's deputy sergeant. His name is Wes Barr. Wes, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good afternoon, Tony. How are you doing, sir?
I am well. Hey, tell me a little bit about Wes Barr. Wes Barr has probably got to be one of the best known individuals we've had on this program, and that you're always out there working with the public, and that's great. So tell us about Wes Barr.
Well, I was born and raised, grew up in Springfield, attended Southeast High School, former Marine like yourself.
Good for you.
Yes,
Semper
sir.
Fi.
Yes, sir. And I've been in law enforcement for 23 years now. I just getting ready to start my 18th year with the sheriff's office here in about 6 months.
Fantastic.
So I've been around for a long time, done a lot of different jobs.
Well, and I guess we should preface this whole thing by saying thank you to our great sheriff, Neil Williamson, for allowing you to be here. So, Sheriff, thank you for that. And I'm sure you'll do a great job carrying his word, because you've actually, one of the jobs you've had in the last 18 years is going out there communicating with the public.
That's right. My current assignment is I'm the director, supervisor in charge of our crime prevention and community services division. So that's our goal, is to go out and educate the public about various topics, whether it's home safety or traffic safety, whatever the case may be.
And you've actually done television programs in the past. I think they were called Points of Law.
Correct.
Point of Law.
And it's still going on. This June will be our 7th year that this show's been in.
And I must tell you, you'll pick a topic and you'll see that on TV and you go, oh, I always wondered about that. Well, and that's what we want to do today, Wes. We want to use these diagrams that you brought with us to describe what might be a confusing law. It's confusing to people like me, not to you, but maybe we can clear up some of that confusion. So let's get into it. What are some of those most confusing traffic laws that we see every day as motorists?
Well, I think most people would agree that probably the passing of school buses, we've been trying to get the word out for a long time, but it's still very confusing to people. And I think one of the biggest reasons is because the penalties are so harsh, people don't want to make a mistake.
You're right. They are very stiff financially, and like I say, you don't want to make that mistake. Right. So let's clear that. What are some of the confusing issues out there?
Well, whether you can pass on a 2-lane road, what's proper passing on a 4-lane road, those are the major issues. And I think that's another thing that draws confusion in, is there's two different situations, they're the same law, but two different situations apply. One side must stop. And then,
well, let's use this as a diagram.
Absolutely.
First of all, if this is a school bus, by the way, if this is the school bus and you want to pass the school bus, you can certainly do that if you're both in motion, can you not?
Absolutely. The only time that you're required to stop, even if the bus is stopped and it's got its yellow flashes on, until the stop sign comes out and the red lights are flashing, it's still safe to pass.
Okay. So just because he is stopped, if his little stop sign is not out and his yellow flasher's not on or whatever, then you're good to go.
That's correct.
Okay, but let's say you're coming in the same direction that the bus is, much like this diagram here shows. If his little sign is out and he's stopped and the flashers are going on and you see the kids coming out, you are to stop where?
Well, they prefer you stop before the sign, but the further back from the bus you stop, the safer it is.
Right.
Because if, let's say that the arm comes out, but you already got if this is a 2-lane road and the kid is crossing and you don't get stopped in time, that's when an accident can occur. So as soon as the sign comes out, the further to the rear of the bus is best.
Okay, his sign is out. You better stop, because you will be penalized. This guy is trained to report you if you've run that stop sign, I would take it.
Yes, they can radio in, and they'll radio in your license plate, and that will be forwarded on to law enforcement.
Okay, now let's pretend that this other 2 lanes isn't here. This is a city street with 2 lanes, and they're letting children out. Usually they don't let children cross the road, but in a 2-lane situation, they very well could be doing that. Is that not correct?
That is correct. That's why
you stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So just because, I mean, the rule of thumb is the kids always, this is always going to let them out on the side of the street that their house is, but that's not always the case.
Not always the case, especially when you get into the residential areas and it's a 2-lane road and the road ain't that big anyway. Now, if it's a 4-lane road like we have displayed here,
then
they
will come up
by law, the bus company has to.
That was my car.
Yeah, I've seen that. But the bus company is required to pick up on the side of the road they live on,
Okay.
on a 4-lane road.
All right. So that's one of the instances. Now, let's say this same scenario exists where these are cars. This is now a 4-lane road, and the bus is stopped letting out children. The people on the other 2 lanes have to do what?
They are free to continue to travel.
Okay.
And we do see people stop a lot here.
I see that every day.
And that's a hazard in itself.
It is.
Because one person stopping, the person behind him knows that they're not required to stop and is not prepared to stop.
Right.
And that causes a lot of accidents. So the opposite lane here, a 4-lane road, they can continue to travel freely.
Right. And even if the sign is out, even if the kids are getting out, these 2 lanes are still free to continue on as normal.
That's correct.
And I think you'd be surprised how many people don't understand that because, you know me, I'm a little impatient. I'll get behind one of these people and I'll honk my horn, not to irritate them, but to let them know, hey, you really don't need to stop. And they'll get out of their car and they'll say, I've got to stop. It's the school bus. I go, no, you don't.
Right.
And then they think, I'm the idiot. Of course, join the club. But so that's good to know. That has been reaffirmed, and you no longer have, you don't have to do that. Okay, let's talk about, is there other school bus, confusing things that you need to know about?
Well,
I know of another one. I think is it Outer Park? There's a school out there, and there will be literally 20 school buses lined up. It's only a 2-lane road, and they will park here waiting for school to get out, 20 minutes from now. They'll get there at 2:45 waiting for the kids to be dismissed at 3 or 3:05, whatever it is. And they'll have their stop lights out, their stop signs out, even though there's no kids and there won't be for another 20 minutes. How do you traverse this extra road?
well, they're not supposed to have that stop sign out until the children are coming out of school, getting ready to get on the bus. If that is occurring, then they can form a complaint with either the school or the school district or the bus company, because they're not supposed to be stopping traffic until they're prepared to do so. That's a good point you bring out, because that particular school has a cutout or an area off the roadway that allows the buses to come into and stage up there waiting for the kids to come out. And so we get that question a lot as well. The bus is not even really on the road during the bypass. Do we still have to stop in this other lane? And the answer is, if that stop sign's out, yes, because it's still considered a 2-lane road.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and again, I know what they're doing. I know their intent is to be safe, but they're there 10, 15 minutes before the kids out. Then they've effectively shut down this whole lane. So I quite frankly, I made a U-turn the one time I noticed this, but I'm sure if it's happened to me, it's happened to other people.
Right.
All right, name some other. Are we done with the school bus? I'll take this down.
I think that's pretty much.
Did you make this? It's very nice, Wes.
Thank you.
All right, what other traffic laws, perhaps, or situations need to be clarified?
I think another one that's a major issue, especially for law enforcement and emergency vehicles, is what to do when an emergency vehicle comes up behind you that is en route to a call for service where they've got their operating their lights and sirens. I think most people kind of know they should get to the right-hand side of the curb of the road, but yet
all right,
they become scared.
I'm going to prepare a question here, so you go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you here.
Sure. They first of all, usually the emergency vehicle comes up on them pretty quick.
Right.
Because they're en route to a call that requires immediate service, and they're hesitant. They don't know, do I turn here? Do I get over here? Where's the car at? So, and the law says that you're to move over to the right-hand side of the curb to allow passage of the emergency vehicle.
Right. Under city, interstate, city road, county road, whatever, you pull over to the right. Do you have to stop?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to come to a complete stop. We suggest you do, but as long as you get over to the side of the road and you're slow down to allow the emergency vehicle to pass you safely, you're not required to come to a complete stop.
Because some people, and people with a little more, or with gray hair like I do, they tend to stop because that was always the rule when I was a kid. You stop. But like I say, nowadays they don't necessarily do that. They'll slow down and move to the right. So it's just as the situation dictates, I would imagine. The question I always wondered, let's say you've got a 4-lane road and you're at a stoplight and the traffic is stopped going north and south.
Okay.
a police officer or an ambulance comes up behind this car on the, is this the inside lane or would this be the outside lane?
Well, I would make this the lane closest to the curb, so I
Right.
would say that would be the inside lane.
The inside lane. A police officer pulls up here. You're at a red light. What do? Do you get out of the way? I mean, you would be technically running that red light and running the risk of hitting somebody, or do you let him find his own way?
Well, what we suggest you do, now, if this is an intersection here, the car's going to be down here, so he can come around this side.
Okay.
And he's going to take the lane that's most available to them.
All right. So you let him decide what he's going to do. You stay there. If you're already stopped, you're better off just staying put. Because again, if you proceed into the intersection, you could cause an accident.
That's
so
right.
You let him turn his lights and sirens on and go around you then.
Right.
And again, that's just one of those things when a police officer or an ambulance, scares the heck out of you with the sirens and the lights, and you're, oh my goodness, what do I do? You're not thinking as quickly as you normally would.
And you'd be surprised, people get confused. I've had situations where the person will turn on the right turn signal, so we go to pass them on the left and they actually make a left-hand turn.
Oh, well,
So
your other right.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we were both in the Marines. You remember that? Yeah. Right face, your other right, dummy. Okay, so we've covered some of these traffic laws, and it's interesting. I've been driving since I'm, for 30 years now, and it's not that we get lax. We just think we know it all at this age, I guess. But there are things that we need to pay attention to. What are some of those other things? I mean, how long were you on traffic, as an example?
Well, I was in the patrol division for, oh my gosh, 21 years.
So you've seen some things, and I mean, have you ever just, kind of held your hand over your face so people wouldn't see you smiling, going, "I can't believe you did that, buddy."
Well, that does happen,
It does. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of those other confusing things or quirky laws out there?
Well,
Perhaps we should talk about when a police officer pulls you over. Again, if you're at an intersection and the police officer's pulling you over, he's behind you with his lights on and he's telling you to get over, what do you do?
Well, pull over to the...
Let's say you're at a red light.
Well, normally if you're at a red light, the officer's going to wait till the light turns green.
Right.
Because he knows you're going to be stuck. And so what they'll do, let's say that he already activated the red light or the lights and siren to pull you over, and you come up to red light, pull over to the side of the road. If you're on a busy roadway like South Grand or Dirksen Parkway, maybe turn down to a side road, trying to get off the roadway a little bit. And
all right, but if you're at a stoplight and he's behind you and his intent is to pull you over, and you understand that, you wait for it to turn green, and then you make your way to the right lane or to the nearest safest area.
Right.
Okay. And if you were in the turning lane going this way, you would proceed once you got the green light, and then I would assume pull over to a safe spot.
Yeah, try to get to a safe location. Try to keep the officer's vehicle and position in mind as well. Because we don't want you to turn the corner and then stop, and then the squad cars
leave
halfway,
him hanging into the street.
halfway in the corner,
Right.
halfway.
But I mean, I have been in positions myself where I've seen people go, "What do I do? I'm at a red light, and the guy's pulling me over." Well, he doesn't want you to run out there.
No, the officer knows that you're stuck at
So
this
don't
point
be
in time.
afraid if you just sit there and
Right,
wait.
stay calm.
Acknowledge him, or however you would do that.
Stay calm. Let them know that you're there. If it's that nighttime, turn on your dome light and kind of signal. Just wait a minute, or point up to the light, and let them know that you're there. You're not disregarding, but you're just waiting for the appropriate time to move over.
Now, when you do pull over to the side of the road, depending on where you are, you get over as close as you can, obviously, because this police officer is going to walk up here and talk to talk to the driver. Now, if there's no curb and I guess there's safety, then come over here somewhere. But so what is? There's a law called, what is it? Scott's law.
Scott's law.
Tell me about that.
Well, that has to deal with speed zones and stuff in construction zones, where it enhances the penalties if you're speeding in that area, or if you cause an accident or you injure a emergency personnel worker or IDOT worker or something like that. It enhances the penalties.
Now, if you watch, is this included in this as well? You watch the other cop shows, and you see a cop writing a ticket leaning into the window, and a car passes him by and just about takes his backside off. Is that all in that Scott's Law thing, or is that a separate kind of?
That's all a part of that, but there is a law now that says that if you're approaching an emergency vehicle, whether it be a squad car or an ambulance, fire truck, whatever, and they're on the side of the road, that, especially on the interstate, that you need to slow down and if all possible, get into the other lane of traffic. So you're not driving, right past them at that point in time.
I understand. Wes, we're going to take a break. We're going to play a commercial here, and we'll be right back.
I joined the National Guard and never thought I'd be saving lives.
I never thought I'd have such an impact on my community.
It's more than money for college. It's built my character and given me a sense of accomplishment.
Citizen soldiers have two missions. One is right here at home during emergencies.
The Guard opened the door for me. Now I'm on a career path, and I'm the leader of my team. When your country calls, you go, proudly.
I put on the uniform and I have a whole new outlook on life. Country, community, family. That's what matters most to me. If that matters to you, go to 1-800-GO-GUARD.com.
We are back. Welcome. We are talking with Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Wes Barr, and we're talking about traffic laws and what you should do when the police pull you over, and passing school buses and things like that. A couple other things. Sprucing up your automobile is kind of a big deal now, and that means a lot of things. You see these stereo units that primarily the younger kids would have, I would imagine, as opposed to people my age. But I mean, it's thump, 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 and you're in the grocery store a half a block away. You're inside the building, surrounded by 8-foot walls of cans, and you could still hear this thing thumping. Is that against the law?
Yes, and that's a neat example you say there, but we get more of those complaints in residential neighborhoods, and especially in the evening hours. Imagine. But the law says that the stereo system cannot be heard 75 feet away from the vehicle. So
and that's generous, because 75 feet is a long way.
That's right.
Now, I will admit, I have a pickup truck that I drive, and apparently there's not a lot of insulation in the doors, and the speakers are there, so I'll have it up, and it's not loud inside, but since it's right on that door, I guess people next to me can hear it and think it's very loud, so I'm always turning it down. I feel bad, but they can be ticketed for that.
Right, and normally your car stereo, if you have it on just an average volume, it's not going to be illegal. Okay. Even if you have your windows down.
How about those tassels or those fuzzy dice hanging from the window or the rear view mirror?
The rear view mirror, that's illegal. The law basically says that you cannot have anything hanging from the mirror because it obstructs the view of the driver.
Mm-hmm. Is that a cause for you to stop someone?
It is what we consider probable cause.
Right.
And normally when you make a stop for that, it's more of a courtesy thing. That's like,
I mean, you would stop somebody if there was enough stuff there.
Right. And you just let them know, you're trying, almost all of traffic laws is to prevent accidents from occurring in the first place. So
it's not because you've got an axe to grind with the driver of that vehicle, I would imagine.
No, because most times we don't even have a clue who the driver is until we make contact with them. Mm-hmm. Unless, we've had prior contact, and then they may even get a citation for it if we've already gave them a warning before and they haven't taken care of the problem.
And you'll have record of that for the most
exactly.
part. Okay, let me, one of the people mentioned, how about the neon light, at the bottom of the car? Very neat looking.
Yeah, it's real popular.
It is, and when you're showing the car in a stopped area, that's kind of neat, but can you have that on when you're driving?
Well, and the law says that you cannot have any of that neon lighting on while you're operating the vehicle on the roadway. All that stuff is intended for show cars.
Right. So if you're parked
if they're
somewhere,
off in a
fine.
parking lot and it's a sports car or something that and usually they invest a lot of money in it.
I would think.
That's the time to display it. Car shows, they sit on the side of the road and they get 3 or 4 of them together, and they do have some very nice stuff out there. But
you can be ticketed
when you're on the roadway. You need to have them off.
Okay. One of the other things, and this is kind of a relatively new law, and it's going to be, there's even more reason now that Illinois is having the photo camera take your picture. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about what you can wrap your license plate in.
Well,
I mean, the holders, can you have the plastic in front, the glass?
Very good, because if you try to obstruct in any way your license plates, that's also illegal. But another thing that is illegal that a lot of people don't realize is the clear license plate covers.
Right.
and they used to have the tinted ones, and then they made that against the law several years back, but you can still have the clear ones at that point in time. And the law has changed now that you can't even have the clear ones on. There can be no cover on your license plate.
All right, now, when I bought my car, it came with clear covers, and my license plates are always nice and clean, and you're telling me I got to take that off, even though it came as original equipment.
Absolutely. You know, we get that question a lot too as well. If this stuff's illegal, if neon's illegal, or if the license plate covers are illegal, how can stores sell them? You know, they shouldn't even be allowed to sell them. Well, again, that stuff's intended if you're not going to be operating the vehicle on the roadway.
Okay.
So it's the driver and the owner's responsibility that that vehicle conforms to the law before they operate it.
All right, so no clear cover, but how about having a metal frame around that license plate? Does that do anything?
You can have the metal frame as long as the officer is still able to see the expiration
sticker. Okay.
Right.
So it's not like it has to be plastic only. It can be a metal frame.
It can be metal just as long as the plate is visible,
okay.
the state is visible, and the expiration tag is
I've
visible.
seen some that actually have scrolling messages on the plate holder. Is that?
That's also illegal.
Doggone it, I wanted one of those. I've always wanted those things you could put in your back window where you could type in a message, turn your brights off, dummy, or, but that would be illegal too, I would assume.
Yeah, it's illegal because the whole intent is so the other drivers are not distracted by your vehicle, that they're not paying attention to their surroundings and then ends up causing an accident and either hurting themselves or hurting someone else.
Right. Okay, how about some other things that might be confusing to people? What are some of the things you see?
Turning right on red. In fact, we started a program at the Sheriff's Office several years back, and that particular question is what started the whole program. An example out on Isles Avenue, Isles and Chatham Road, where they got the two right-hand turn lanes for the left hand and two for the right.
Right.
Or
right by there's a shopping center and a bank
the
right
Schnucks
there.
right there. Yeah. And the question was, if you're making a right-hand turn, can both of the drivers that are turning right turn?
That's a good question. Let me answer. I always said, if I have the ability to turn right on red, and these are two right turning lanes, I should be able to turn right in either one of those lanes. Am I right?
No,
I'd be wrong then.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Basically, what the law says.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Basically, the law says is when you make a right-hand turn, you have to turn from curb to curb.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So that other lane
State
can't
lane.
turn, even though you're in a turning lane, and the law says
Absolutely,
you can
because
turn
the
right
whole
on red.
intent is they don't want you pulling out into the lane of traffic.
Makes sense, obviously.
Yeah. So.
But again, you just take that kind of thing for granted, and I'm sure a police officer would be somewhat lenient in understanding that. But I'd venture to say most people don't know that.
Well, and the thing is too is the police officer may be understanding, but what if you're involved in an accident?
Well, then he can't be so understanding.
Right.
That's
Then
right.
they're going to say, well, that was a violation of law, even though you thought you could do it, and it may sound right, but since it's against the law, you're going to probably receive a citation for that.
It's just one of those old wives' tales kind of thing. And then you'll see the no right turn permitted while children are present. What does that mean? Well, I look around, I don't see any kids, so I turn right.
Yeah, and then you're absolutely legal doing that.
Okay, so it's not like school hours. You can't do it Monday through Friday during the school year.
No, and that's another thing too that and we'll get to is the school zones. But that's the whole intent is normally when you're going to see those, don't turn on red if children are present. It's near a school or something like that that allows
or a densely populated area with kids or something.
Correct. That the kids are going to be using that intersection.
Okay.
At certain times of the day.
So you could literally look around. If you don't see children, then you can turn right then.
Right.
Okay. What was the other incident?
Well, the school zones. You know, we get this question a lot. When is it the school zone in enforcement?
Right.
Is it from 7:30 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon while the children are in school?
All right. I would assume it's when school is in session. Is that a good way to say it?
That's a good way of saying it, but that's not necessarily the law.
See, and I've been driving 30 years, and I'm thinking I know it all.
Basically, the law says the children have to be present and near enough to the roadway to be a hazard.
All right, so if it's 9 o'clock in the morning and the kids are all in school,
right,
you don't have to go.
The speed limit is whatever
20.
the regular posted speed limit is in that area.
That's interesting. Okay, now what if the school has the light flashing? It says school zone. Then you better slow down.
Well, if the children are not present, even though the light's flashing, if they're still in the school building or if they're in a schoolyard that's all fenced in where they can't just immediately get out into the roadway, then that law doesn't apply just yet.
Who controls that flashing light? Is that in the principal's office? Is there a switch, or is it a timed kind of thing?
You know, I don't know. I've seen it, but I don't know
Yeah, that
how
would be
that. I
interesting
don't know how that
to know.
operates.
But again, these are interesting scenarios that I've just never thought of. But wow.
And school zones. You know, I've always found it amazing is, and I had to actually ask myself is, you see entering a school zone, but you never see the end of the school zone. So how far do you go past the school?
Where does this
before
end?
it ends?
Right.
You know,
as opposed to a construction zone, there'll be signs that say
construction
end.
starts here, construction ends here,
Right.
or whatever. And the basic rule of thumb is until you're no longer around the children.
Okay.
So if it's 3 blocks, that's enforcement for all 3 blocks. If it's 4 blocks, but as soon as you're out where the children are walking, then.
Well, you know, if you're going, well, actually either way, east or west on Monroe in Springfield, as an example, you've got grade schools. You got Sacred Heart Griffin, and then you've got another grade school after that. So I mean, it's boom, boom, boom. So I try to avoid that area, especially during the school year. In the summertime, I don't avoid it, but man, you're right. That's about a mile of watching out for kids there, and of course they think even less than we do. They're jumping out into the crosswalk. They're not wanting. They know you're going to stop for them,
right.
So you need to be prepared for that. We've got about 2 minutes left. What? Give me a 1-minute story here. What do you got that we can talk about?
Well, I don't know.
I put you on the spot.
Yes.
All right. Well, again, these are all quirky traffic laws. If they want to know, hey, Wes, Deputy Barr, can you come to my organization? Can you give us, the Senior Citizen Center or the some society that meets once a month? Are you available, or someone from Sheriff Williamson's office available?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do is we go out and do presentations in front of various groups. We do AARP. They'll occasionally have a new traffic laws or laws that apply to seniors.
And every year that happens.
Absolutely, because the laws are always changing.
Right.
Normally it's a reaction to something.
Who do they contact? How do they get a hold of you or someone in your office?
They can call the Sheriff's Office Crime Prevention Division at 753-6373 and schedule a program. We'd be more than happy to come out and do a presentation, weekends, evenings, whatever's convenient for them.
Fantastic. Well, and you are truly good public servants, and as a veteran, and so I say thank you for your service to our country, and as a police officer, I say thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you.
And tell Sheriff Neil Williamson we appreciate you coming over here, and maybe the next time we'll have both of you back on.
Will do.
And come up with some more stories, and because I want to do a story where you. Remember I told you about you just hold that ticket book up in front of your mouth and you started laughing. I can't believe you did that. I want to hear about those stories. I'll tell you what, this will end this particular program of Your Circuit Clerk Presents. Thank you for being with us. Once again, thank you to Sheriff Neil Williamson for allowing us to have one of his best guys here, Sergeant Wes Barr. That concludes another edition of Sangamon County Circuit Clerk Presents. I hope you found the program useful. If you have any suggestions for future programs or have any questions that you need to see answered on this program, please contact me at Sangamon County Circuit Clerk, 200 South 9th Street, room 405, Springfield, Illinois, 62701. Or you can contact us on the World Wide Web at www.sangamoncountycircuitclerk.org. Thank you. The information contained in this program is solely for the use of the people of Sangamon County to make them more aware of the services of the Circuit Clerk's Office and the issues they deal with. By law, the Circuit Clerk's Office cannot give legal advice.